Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be on the execution paragraph of the 5-paragraph business plan. If you are following along at home, adjust this real quick. If you're following along at home and you're a listener of our tutorials, maybe you're a listener of Cigars and Sea Stories, rocking our Cigars and Sea Stories hat today, and Madison Rising, who played the theme song for Cigars and Sea Stories. Thank you so much for that. They did the Marines hymn on there, so if you get a chance, check out the Marines hymn by Madison Rising. It's actually really cool. Highly motivating, semper fidelis, always. All right, so we are in the 5-paragraph business plan, the action-oriented business management tool for leaders. This is for leaders. This is not for managers. If you're a manager, you can go and get some executive type stuff so that you can manage within your little realm. That's great. This is for leaders. This is for people who would like to delegate authority to subordinate leaders in order to maintain overall accountability of the mission. They would like to expand their operations. That is exactly who 5-paragraph is perfect for. If you yourself are in startup mode and you're just looking to get geared up in business and all of that other stuff, awesome. Welcome to the party. 5-paragraph business plan is going to be the simplest, easiest business planning tool you have ever laid eyes on. It also puts together your operational leader components in there. So when you're done and you make a business plan and that's all well and good, it allows you to operate off of that business plan and break it down just to task, condition, standard. And so you can go out and, per the situation, figure out what the mission needs to be and then be able to go and execute. Execution paragraph being the most detailed paragraph out of 5P. Now, that being said, it's the most detailed paragraph for a very, very good reason. Right? The execution paragraph is telling your leadership above you, as well as all of the supporting team members that are within your overall team, within your overall business entity. It is showing the coordinating instructions and the overall scheme maneuver. All right, so the scheme maneuver is big, huge picture, how it's going to all be laid out. The coordinating instructions are per the individual teams, and then when you get all the way down to the plan from your individual leaders that you're working with on the ground, it is narrowed all the way down to the individual team member as far as coordinating instructions, and we're going to be getting into it. So if you're following along in your 5-paragraph business plan, we're on page 22 through 27. Go ahead and watch a couple of our other lives, and we'll embed those on the website and do some other stuff. We're going right along in the book. We do book overviews for a reason, so that way you guys get the gist. You're on the program. Go ahead, pick it up. You'll see exactly what we do. It is a fill in the blank as you go style book, and then at the end of it, it is a workbook. So the entire time we're looking to draw that information out of your noggin and get you to ask the right questions about yourself, your team, your business overall, and then put that limited amount of detail down in the book as you're going through the text, as you're listening to the tutorials. Why do we do it that way? Do you need the tutorial episodes? No, you don't. Could you just buy the book and go? Yeah, absolutely. Once you've got the book in your hands, that's the true empowerment tool. Why do we do it with tutorials and to fill it out and everything else? I'm an instructor. My background is instruction. I was an instructor in combat marksmanship. I trained lieutenants. I've trained over 60,000 U.S. military personnel how to go off and either fight with a weapon or do tactics, techniques, procedures, whatever the case may be. I bring a lot of that instructor background, and so do the other advisors that I work with, into this text. You learn best through auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learning. Auditory, visual, kinesthetic learning. If you incorporate all three of those, you yourself are going to have a better chance of success. So you read it, you listen to it, and you fill it out as you go. The tutorials are professionally edited, very well done. Go ahead and listen through the tutorials as you fill out the book. And again, we do overviews with groups all the time. That's what I get hired to do primarily as far as like speaking type stuff now these days. Can you come in and share a little bit about the book? I will come into your place of business and I will literally go through the book Is it going to be in minute detail? No, absolutely not. Will you be able to fill out the detail that's in the book? Yep, that's the whole point. All right, so if you yourself are saying, hey, I want to get my entire team squared away on this, you fill out the vision, the overall plan, and then you'll see how in the beginning you've got Met TTSL, and at the end you've got Met TTSL. It's the same in the beginning as it is at the end, because now at the end you know more about your overall business. And so you take that Met TTSL, and that becomes the front of your subordinate leader's plan, the front of your other Team 2 subordinate leader's plan. And that's exactly how you stair step it down or bracket it off. It's the exact same way that we do it in the U.S. military. That's how we take the vision to the leadership through a task, and then that leader then goes off and creates their own operations order, their own 5-paragraph, and then each one of those tasked out leaders go and create their own 5-paragraph until you get to the actual squad that goes and commits action. And that's exactly how it works. Same thing in business. That's exactly what we're helping HACOA with. HACOA, Home Repair Network, you can check them out, hacoa.5paragraph.com. Learn more about them. We just had a great testimonial come from HACOA San Diego, Sam Goodwin. Excellent guy. He has never served a day in uniform, did not understand what the op order was. He's running on 5-paragraph. You can check that out. It's hacoasd.5paragraph.com, hacoasd.5paragraph.com. And I'll be sure to throw these in the comments below when I'm done with the video, so that way you guys can see all of the landing pages that are out there. Do not take my word for it that it works. Go to 5-paragraph, look at the testimonial videos. Go to HACOA, look at the testimonial videos. We built this on purpose in order to share it with folks who have never served ever in the military, with the intention that they could take the exact same methodology for how we carried out missions and go and apply it to their businesses, because they were looking for something that was situationally dependent. It works really well involving skilled labor and knowledge workers together, officers, knowledge worker, skilled labor, non-commissioned officers, and enlisted personnel. It's literally how we run operations. Same thing with franchise licensing opportunities, HACOA being one of those opportunities. You need a uniform method to be able to stand up that unit, not necessarily control it from an overlordship. They need to be able to stand up and operate and then speak in between higher or some of the other supporting elements, the other adjacent units that are out there, and use the same terminology. It's exactly what we did in the military. And so that's why we've done it in a very similar fashion. So it is a military style business plan. Does that mean that it's Marine Corps, Army, Navy? It's both. It's both Army and Marine Corps, because we primarily use the 5-paragraph. On page 11 in this book, I show you exactly why it is a military operations order. It involves both of the components out of the Marine Corps and the Army. The reason for it is the Army doesn't necessarily have a command attack component, and the Marine Corps does not necessarily have a sustainment component. And so by putting those two op orders together, which is exactly what we do whenever we do, anytime you've ever done a joint training exercise or a joint task force or anything like that involving Army and Marine Corps units, we've always worked off of that similar order, where sustainment comes up in the admin and logistics paragraph, and you're going, we don't have that. And it's like, well, you obviously understand what sustainment is, right? Yes, we do. Okay, cool. So just add that detail. So that's why we did it that way. We also did it that way because we have taken the operations order from TRADOC, the Army's Training Education Command. We've taken it from the Marine Corps Training and Education Command, and then we've drawn on elements out of the Institute of Veterans and Military Families, their nuts and bolts of great business plans, as well as our own expertise, the advisors that we work with, and they're both civilian and veterans, right? So we're drawing from both of those talent pools, so to speak, in order to create a clear, concise, simple, easy-to-use program for you guys. So let's get into it. With the execution paragraph, you're discussing your company and your overall culture. If you were a part of our last Go Live when we were discussing the mission component, I spoke briefly about how those objectives and those directives in the mission component, and it's on page 21. Yep. So if you go through that on page 21, you'll see how you have constructed the foundation for your company culture. Your company culture is right down here. It's after the intro paragraph. Company culture and operational strategies. Your intention as a leader is in the front of the execution paragraph, the top of the execution paragraph as a whole. Your entire company culture, you could say to an extent, needs to be broken down within your operational strategy. How you're going to do business matters, because it is going to speak volumes a decade from now when somebody else is running it and you sold it, or you have a general manager, whatever the case may be. They understand that the same thread, that same lineage continues all the way through the entire organization. And I know for a fact that your company can sell something entirely different and still carry that same culture. If you don't believe me, look at IBM and look at Samsung. Samsung started selling rice. That's how they started as a business. And now they sell the world's brightest televisions. So go out and take a look at the history of Samsung, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Your operational strategy, how you do business, is intertwined with the overall culture of your organization. So in the execution paragraph, you explain your commander's intent. This is your intention as the leader of whatever team you are writing your 5-paragraph business plan for. You might be the owner of the team, as Mr. Ryan Hunt is with Mountain Up. And so he joined the conversation, so I'm using him as an example. His intentions as a commander and the culture of the overall organization, and as it continues to progress forward, will go in there under the intention. So commander's intent, and then you describe the center of gravity. The center of gravity is like the biggest, huge, gigantic pot of gold you've ever imagined in your entire life. That is where all of the big players play. That is just the chiefs of your industry, right, as far as center of gravity. You narrow that down, right? So center of gravity, yeah, you want to break into that gigantic pot of gold. You've got to figure out how to get into that gigantic market, which is extraordinarily lucrative, so long as you can compete with those big, huge companies. Okay, so you've got to get into a very lucrative, smaller market that allows you the opportunity to saturate that and then overflow into adjacent markets, thus creating market saturation. This is not something I made up. This is, I believe that here, let me fix this real quick. There we go. This is not something that I made up. This is Peter Thiel, 0 to 1. If you're not familiar with the text, we offer it for sale under, in our shop on 5paragraph.com. Peter Thiel, 0 to 1. Find a very small, lucrative market that you have the ability to monopolize on, oversaturate it, and then continue to grow. All right, so that's not me coming up with something out of the blue, right? We all see that there are extraordinarily lucrative, big, huge companies and markets that are out there. We see it all the time in the mainstream. You need to go to a mainstream adjacent, make a name for yourself, oversaturate that market, and then grow outside of it until you're this massive, huge competitor within that big, huge overall industry. Okay, so with that being said, what you're doing in pinpointing where that low-hanging fruit is, that's what we describe it as, where we're going to start initially picking up traction, that's your critical vulnerability. You get into a critical vulnerability, and then you run an exploitation plan. An exploitation plan, simply put, is how you are going to exploit the market that is in front of you, right? That critical vulnerability. You're exploiting, not people, you're exploiting the opportunity, the gap that your competitors left open for you. All right, so when I say an exploitation plan, I mean you are exploiting the weakness found within the market in order to provide your good product service to a benefit of your customer. That's a good thing, okay? And I'll flat out tell you, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping skilled labor, small business, seeking to expand franchise license opportunities potentially, the reason why I believe that HACOA and 5-paragraph is such a good fit is because we are situationally dependent. We are flexible. We offer you a template to go off of to be able to run multiple operations teams, what have you. And that's something that executive or executionary based business plans cannot provide you. If it's all spreadsheets in your business, is 5-paragraph going to fit for you? Yes, absolutely. Where do we excel in those franchise license opportunities? I've shared this with a number of different people before at this point now. I was invited in to do a keynote and then lead a panel for veterans in franchising. And there were 4 other veterans that were on the panel, each one of them a franchisee for a very prominent franchisor or franchise opportunity. The entire place in this convention center was just an absolute buzz. It was amazing. Not a single person, not a soul, showed up to veterans in franchising. Told me 2 different things. Either 1, people don't care, and I don't believe that that's it, or 2, a whole lot of veterans don't necessarily see the potential of being able to go into a franchise licensing opportunity. You're not working for the franchisor. You're bringing capital that you would otherwise expend in creating your own business from scratch. However, you get to put that capital towards your marketing, your branding, the support structure that comes along with it. Your adjacent units, you're automatically put into this mastermind network, depending on the franchise network that you yourself find a good fit in. There's a lot of opportunity that's there. You know, a lot of people are fighting for the gold watch and the 401k. If your employer's not maxing it out or they have issues with their benefits, that can ruin everything. The whole vision of their company is something entirely different, and yet they're shooting themselves in the foot dealing with payroll and HR issues. If you yourself are a business owner, are you taking risk? Yes, absolutely. If you're a business owner of a franchise license option, are you taking as much risk? No, you're not. And that's because you're coming with a support brand, so on and so forth. That's a lot like carrying the guidon in your own specific area of operation. That is a lot like being overseas in the military in a huge, huge way, because my battalion commander could not do a whole lot about my patrol base, my area of operation. He relied very heavily on me being the responsible individual in leading those patrols with my Marines. And the same thing with my counterpart. And we were each other's APL, assistant patrol leader, whenever each other were running patrols, if we could do it. There were other times where we were running 50-50 inside of the patrol base. We would do our post rotations to QRF rotations to patrol rotations. That takes a great amount of responsibility all the way down to the absolute lowest man to get up and do that every single day and not being a lazy, worthless piece of trash. All right, so the same thing applies. They're relying on you, the franchisee, the licensee, to be able to stand up the guidon and keep the operations going. So, let me see here. Oh, Opward 5-paragraph format works. I use right on, man. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, brother. That's awesome, dude. That's fantastic. And a lot of veteran business owners know exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of us, we were like, oh yeah, we'll just write op orders. You know, a lot of veteran business owners have started business plans just writing 5-paragraph op orders. I myself being one of them. What really ramped it up is we took, I swear to God, I can pull it like right off the shelf. Let me see. I can do this live. I'm going to grab the book off the shelf while I'm live. I'm really going to do it. Where did I put it? So this is one. So each one of these are texts from the Institute of Veterans and Military Families. And when I find it, I will bring the nuts and bolts of Great Business Plan, which is another one of their texts from the curriculum. So what we really needed to do was bring together the operations order and then a multitude of knowledge that went into the program, which, we cite them appropriately inside of the text, and we use this program all of the time. It's just where we ourselves saw a great need is for the ability to create an oversimplified all-in-one text that allowed us to get from the idea stage all the way through to the pitch, to actually delivering the pitch, and that's delivering it to somebody, let's say, for securing capital. But it might also be delivering a pitch to your leadership. So, or it might be delivering a pitch to a franchisor to be able to go out and actually run that franchise opportunity. Not all franchisees who just have the capital to be able to run their own location are going to be franchise locations. Not everybody is chosen. So anyway, there's a multitude of knowledge that goes into this, as well as into our advisor program and our advisor services. So if you're following along, I'm on page 23. I'm about to turn that over. We went through the exploitation plan just briefly, but it's basically you see a crease in the market and you're looking to go and attack that. Oh, excuse me. You see a crease in the market and you're looking to go and attack that. And what you're doing is you're looking to oversaturate in one pool to be able to spill over into a multitude of other markets. And again, that's, if you want to pick up the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, it's at 5paragraph.com. It's in our bookstore. And that's available through Amazon, so it'll be Amazon delivery. So in greater detail, the exploitation plan, and then it wraps up with a desired end state on page 24 if you're following along. I want to direct your attention down to the MET-TTSL box. You've seen some of these boxes in the text. The reason why it is highlighted like this is so that you are readdressing that MET-TTSL. So it's part of our troop leading steps. It's part of what we do to make sure that we're double checking our plan as we're going through it. So you start with that MET-TTSL, you work your plan through, you wrap it up with the MET-TTSL, and then you have the ability to create your pitch, right? All of these are the different things. When you create your pitch, that's pitching your higher leadership, might be pitching your own people. Hey, here's the project. This is what we're going to do. You're briefing your people on it. And that's the way that I treat a pitch. A pitch is essentially an education piece. Sales is essentially just education. You're educating a potential customer on it to the point where they become a customer. Same thing here when we talk about educating folks on your business. All you're doing is you're briefing someone. That's all that it really boils down to. So the pitch deck in the back, I'm using entrepreneurial terminology. In all actuality, it's a brief. And in that briefing, you're either going to be briefing potential investors, a loan officer, you're going to be briefing a franchisor executive, whatever the case may be, on your overall plan for how you're going to move forward. It's just a briefing. That's it. And then when they're done, you've got the green light. Same thing, you take that exact same briefing, then you turn it around towards your own team, and you're providing them a brief. This is our plan of attack. This is our strategy for how we're going to go and get things done. It's just that simple. And it's all right here. If you guys are following along in your books, again, it's page 22 through 27. And just talking briefly about the timelines, that is your sequence of events in the exploitation plan for how you're going to saturate that market, and then you're going to grow or spill over outside of that market. I say spill over because you're going to hit a point to where that's it. You're just bubbling way out of that market. When we originally came to market with the book, with 5 paragraph, we had so many different users that had picked it up and used it successfully. We've got business owners at every spectrum. We've got medical executives, insurance executives, middle school teachers who are using it, law enforcement, correctional officers who are using it, and a number of different folks. We found the best fit for us in skilled labor, small businesses, and our advisor services are tailored towards those who are looking to expand, primarily through franchising or licensing options. If you called us up and you need help with any of these paragraphs, of course we're going to give you the time of day. Our advisor services, if you're requesting a quote for our services for us to complete your business plan, to work with your unit owners to complete their business plans and to stand up their own individual units. That's what we're there for. So when I say we're partnered with HACOA, that's HACOA sells HACOA. I am 5 Paragraph. We are working with HACOA unit owners to build their 5 paragraph business plan and get stood up in their own area of operation. That is exactly what we're doing with 5P. And 5 paragraph is great for the skilled labor, situationally dependent, small business, seasonal employees. We're coming up on the summer. You're going to be hiring a number of different seasonal employees. You've got your internal team leaders. Each one of them needs to have a 5 paragraph business plan. They need to be briefing you on how they're going to be running their teams during this upcoming season. You're gearing up for it. It's about to be summer out there, folks. You and I both know that it is the #1 business season coming up through the summer, and all of us deal with seasonal effects on our businesses, whether we like to admit it or not. This helps us who are in heavily seasonal dependent. So if we're working outside all of the time, I know exactly what that's like. If we're outside of the building, as I've already said, but if we're going to be outside of the building herding cats is kind of the way that I put it. If you're working multiple job sites, this is an absolute great fit. So when you put your timelines down on here and you're working out, in the contracting realm, they've got this, it's like a big Gantt chart. It's basically a horse blanket. Well, they call it a horse blanket. And it's a big calendar of events, a sequence of events that all need to take place. The footings must be poured before you can put the roof on a building, believe it or not. So there needs to be a sequence of events and how that takes place. Timeline is there for that. Timeline is also the sequence of events for how you're going to grow the overall business from 0 to 1,000 to 100,000 to 1 million. Hey, Mike, we need to expand. Awesome. Let's talk through the advisor type stuff. Hey, I'm leading more teams. 1 million, 2 million. Hey, man, it's looking like you could potentially open another unit over here, another office over here. 4 million, 8 million, 16 million. Until you hit the 20 million mark, you're still considered a small business. And then even still above that, until you get upwards of 100 million, I mean, you're frankly not even really a blip on the radar for whether or not your big, huge competitors are going to squish you out. You've really got to make a lot of weight before people start paying attention to that type of stuff. So go forth and cause some noise and, make some mistakes and all of that other stuff, and call us when you hit a wall or you hit a plateau. That's what we're there for. That's us operating in our business. So when you're doing your timelines, and this is on page 25, I talk in the tutorial episodes at length about an actionable, a priority, and a routine timeline. And I talk about that because HACOA operates entirely in an actionable timeline. All right, so priority is going to be quality assurance, quality control calls. Routine is going to be a lot of the marketing and stuff like that. Actionable wise, HACOA has people calling them, and then they're directing work orders towards contractors who then go and fulfill those work orders. Plain and simple, right? That's all actionable timeline. Show what your actionable timelines look like and what your actionable events could be based on your risk and value assumptions, but then take your priority timelines that need to be met. Great, we know that we're going to be dealing with chaos all of the time. How are we going to maintain our routine, or our priority quality assurance controls? So while we're handling that huge amount of chaos, how are we following up with these homeowners to make sure job satisfaction has in fact taken place? And then the routine functions, social media functions, the outbound marketing functions that you're going to be applying, a lot of the automation functions that you're going to be applying would go down in routine. It's routine maintenance that you yourself have to do in working on the business. If you're confused with any of this stuff, don't hesitate to call us. It's 919-827-0898, 919-827-0898. And if you do it right now, I'm going to be really upset because the phone's sitting right there. All right, so just call us, man. So anytime, if we're off on a do not disturb, it's typically after normal business hours out here on the East Coast. But I tell you what, I've had folks call at 6 p.m. on a Sunday, and I will sit down and answer your questions. I think my wife doesn't really like it as much, but when it's time for me to be on duty and I get the calls redirected to, my cell phone or something, I'm on duty, man. It's the exact same way as being in the Corps. I get a kick out of it because I really get jazzed talking with all you folks about your business ideas. We pride ourselves on being America's most flexible company. It's just that simple. We can go and we can help pretty much anybody get squared away and set up in business. But again, who we're focused on are those who are expanding through franchise or licensing opportunities right now. I am going to blaze through 26 and 27. We talked about it before. Concept of operations. Concept of operations is a picture within, concept of operations. Yeah, it's a picture within. So what you're doing is you're saying, okay, from a linear standpoint, the concept of operations are going to look like this, from your timeline, from your horse blanket, whatever you want to call it. That is when you're mapping out your scheme and maneuver. Scheme maneuver is all of the different components. One can confuse scheme maneuver with logistics. Logistics is a part of that to an extent. Scheme maneuver is how all of the pieces have to work together. Your design and development plan is after scheme maneuver or part of scheme maneuver because they're one and the same. If you're designing a building, for instance, and now all of a sudden you need to make a drastic design change, your scheme maneuver needs to change. That's why they're almost married in tandem. And then you have your tasks. Your tasks are simply the task. You're outlining that which needs to be accomplished. Immediately after that, you have your coordinating instructions. You have that which needs to be done. Boom, we've got to do all of this stuff. Don't worry about who. That comes next. In coordinating instructions, and this is the operations plan, you're going to be going through and taking those tasks and assigning them to a team with a team leader who writes their own 5-paragraph business plan for how they're going to go and tackle that operation. This, in the coordinating instructions, is where you are telling them their mission and what they need to do, right? So you have the task, let's say, for instance, and we use a pretty bland example. Let's say that you're going to pour footings, right? That's the simplest example. You're going to pour footings for a building because that's the task that needs to happen. Brian, you're going to pour footings. You're going to be working with a team of 8. You have these assets. You've got 4 mixers that are going to be attached to you that are coming at various times, and you have to work the pour in between 8 a.m. and noon. Okay, so you have these different variables as far as the coordinating instructions are concerned. He didn't tell you how to do it. He just said in between 8 a.m. and noon, you're going to have 4 trucks that are going to show up. You've got 8 guys. You've got to make a pour happen that's going to be in there. What type of pour you need to put in there is up to you, given the constraints and what your expertise are, what the set's going to look like. So after it's done, how you're going to kind of like tape it off, strand it off, do whatever in order to make sure no one goes into that concrete. Whatever the case may be is on you, the individual leader. You know that it needs to be between 8 and 12. You know how many trucks are supposed to show up, how much labor you're going to have. And the rest of it, how to actually tackle the mission, is on you, the individual leader. That's what we're talking about when we go into the coordinated instructions. You're not telling anybody how to actually do anything. What you're doing is you know that task needs to be done. You have the right leader for the job who knows how to handle that task, and you're providing them with the time, the equipment, the people that are necessary in order to go and get the job done. And so in doing that, you can delegate your authority. All right. Now, who's ultimately responsible for the overall project? You are. The leader who tasked out Brian with going and pouring in the footings. If Brian doesn't do it, if Brian doesn't mess up, is Brian fired? Yes. But the entire project is on you. So even though Brian's fired off the job, you're responsible. You got to go and find another leader. Make sure that they're up to snuff, put them into the position in order to be able to carry out that mission, and then provide them everything as far as the assets, constraints, and so on that you did for Brian. And then hopefully they will carry out the mission, right? So firing somebody isn't necessarily a pleasant thing, but if somebody doesn't uphold their end of the contract, so to speak. You didn't do that which was clearly defined right here in this document that we're holding each other accountable to. Unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go because you didn't do that which you said you were going to do. Plain and simple, right? I'm pretty sure that's like the easiest grounds for firing somebody ever. Not being able to actually perform the task that you hired them to do. For some reason, a lot of people, they're held on and they have no reason to be in a business other than, an allowance. So coordinating instructions, if you have a task, it needs to have a leader with potentially a team to go and carry it out. A leader with potentially a team. It needs to have a leader who's going to go and carry it out, no matter what. Not a manager who's just going to kind of like watch the mechanism and see and make sure that things are working. Like, hey, all of these people in this department already know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it, so all we need you to do is just kind of manage it. Not that. If you are tasking it out within the coordinating instructions, it's because you need a leader in order to go and carry out that mission, whatever the case may be. Will it become lockstep? Absolutely. But the point, though, is it's an action-oriented business management tool for leaders. That's the point. So if you're looking to go and tackle big, huge missions and you've got to get things done, if you like building stuff, making things, if you are showing up to a homeowner's house and have no idea really what you're going to encounter, if you're situationally flexible, if situation dictates a lot of what you do, 5-paragraph is great for you. We are bringing together knowledge workers and skilled labor exactly the way that the U.S. military brought together knowledge workers and skilled labor. That is the point, right? So it is pointed towards civilians. It is pointed toward, we say, patriots. If you care about America and the military, you'll probably be more prone to join us with a 5-paragraph business plan, right? So it is intended for a civilian audience so that they may grasp the concepts that we learn, skills, knowledge, attitude during our military experience. And it came directly out of being a speaker. I've done a TED Talk. I've done Better Homes and Garden Realty, Luther Hodges Business Ethics Initiative, through the Rotary Club. I get brought in to speak in panels and all sorts of different things, which is great. It's humbling. It's amazing. But at the same time, you're asking a guy out of the combat arms side to share how you became a success in this new life. And then at the same time, when I transitioned out of the combat arms side, I was told by the very same folks, your skills won't apply in this new world. So the people that are telling me that my skills won't apply are the same ones who will hire me and say, how do we apply those skills? It's a little ironic, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us as military service members, now veterans coming out, to where I challenge a lot more of us. If you learn something that you see will fit out here in an American society and abroad, bring it to the market. Bring it up. It's not cheesy. In my opinion, there are some things that are out there that are real gung-ho and militaristic and cheesy to an extent. And, that's cool. That's great. It hits its own market. With 5-paragraph, our whole intention is we've been getting asked all the time, how do military leaders carry out the mission when there's nobody else around? How do you guys do that stuff? The 5-paragraph is exactly how we do that stuff. And a lot of us who, like, if I transitioned out of service tomorrow, I would not want to write a 5-paragraph business plan. I just wouldn't, because I operated on 5-paragraph every single day. I myself, being a transition veteran, would have to go and learn I would want to go and learn some of that other business terminology and then apply it into the 5-paragraph business plan. That's the other reason why we wrote it specifically with a civilian audience in mind, with a civilian business person audience in mind who's looking to ramp things up through our operating or our military style for how we do stuff. There's no screaming and yelling in the book. There's no violence in the book. The whole idea is this is how we plan out business operations in the real world. And it's the exact same way as how we did it in the military, and it definitely works. Don't take my word for it. I will post the links to our testimonials in the comment section. But if you haven't already checked it out, hacoa.5paragraph.com. That's HOCOA.5paragraph.com. You can check out their video there. You can also check out our testimonials. It's Hacoa SD. That's San Diego. HacoaSD.5paragraph.com. If you yourself are interested in a 5-paragraph business plan, it's at 5paragraph.com. That's 5 like the digit, paragraph.com. It's also available on Amazon. So yeah, man, go for it. Pick it up. If you guys want to leave your comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, by all means, leave them in there. Hey, Jake, thanks for showing up, man. This is awesome. I appreciate you coming in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, I'm going to continue to go live. I'm going to continue to share directly out of the book. So if you don't already have it and you want to follow along, get the book. I will share directly out of the book. It will hopefully prime you for the conversation that we're going to have over the phone. And get on the phone with me. I'll share the template with you. So like we could do a screen share if you wanted. That's something that I do with a lot of different folks. If you're saying, hey, I'd love to do a screen share and go through the MET-TTSL, the early phases of the business plan, sure, I'll do that with you. But we offer 15 minutes, and it will be 15 minutes. The majority of the time is spent trying to draw that information out of you guys. It is our job to sit down with you and draw that information out of you guys in order to get it down on paper so that you can go off and run with it. I don't do anything with a plan or anything. It's not even complete anyway. It's just yours. You go off, you run with it, have fun, be well, all of that other good stuff. So yeah, get in touch with us, and we will be happy to go through your 5-paragraph business plan with you. If you're interested in being a Hacoa unit owner in your neck of the woods, I know for a fact that they are expanding because they've chosen us to advise them through that expansion. We are advisors the same way that we were advisors in the military. So I was an advisor in the military, and we would go and work with units in order to stand up areas. We do the exact same thing in 5-paragraph, and well, we do the exact same thing as 5-paragraph advisors. The business plan is much more operations or formatted. Our advisor services are much more advisor oriented. So if you're interested in anything that I have spoken to during this go live or any of our other go lives, be sure to get in touch with us. For those folks who are seeing us for the first time, maybe they're coming over from Cigars and Z Stories. I'm rocking the CNS hat and the Madison Rising t-shirt today for today's go live. Quick little note, you will never see me in the same outfit on any live. So that is a challenge that has been dropped down by one of my buddies. So you will never see me in the same outfit on another go live. If you do, I expect you to comment on that section. So, all right, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, thank you so much for being a part of this 5-paragraph conversation. We look forward to all of those comments. Please, by all means, get in touch with us. Get the book, follow along. Let's do this together. All right, take care, be well, and semper fidelis, always.